The hottest trend of the game industry in 2019 has to be roll and write games, as I feel like I see a few titles in this genre announced every single week. I might be exaggerating a little bit, but there are a lot of them out there. If you're not familiar with the genre, you can think of someone rolling a bunch of dice and then everyone using the results of those dice to do something on their individual score pad or sheet of paper. Whether I'm connecting things with a line or circling something or drawing a building of a particular type or just marking something in, writing down numbers, whatever it is. We're all using those shared results, the same results on the dice, to do something individually. And then our desires, our goals, what we're trying to do on our sheet often change over the course of the game, whether we're getting personal goals, or I get to choose something on my turn that no one else does, or we do something where things start to differentiate ourselves and lead us in new directions. And the predecessor of this genre seems to be Stefan Bendorf's Quicks, that was released in 2012 by German publisher NSV. In that game, you roll a bunch of dice. All the players can use the sum of the white dice to mark off a number on their sheet, and then the active player can use a white die and a colored die to mark off that number on that colored row. So we got something shared and then something just for me. And that happens on each player's turn, and as a result of all those individual choices, you start heading in different directions as the game progresses. So we're using shared results, and yet we're pulled in different ways. It's really interesting to see that design together, and everyone is playing every single turn because you can always write something off if you want based on the results of the dice. Might not be the best idea, but you can do it anyway. Quicks has been licensed by many publishers over the years. In the US, Gamewright has had huge success with it, both with the original version and with their Quicks Deluxe that was released as a Target exclusive for a couple of years and now is on the mainstream market. And Gamewright has had enough success, they've gone on, they've released Quingo, they've licensed Rolling America, and that's out. And for 2019, they have the new game Bloom by designer Wouter van Strien. There's a Polish publisher that's released a almost similar design called Bukiet by van Strien. Rules are slightly different, but in general, it's the same thing where you're going to roll dice and you're trying to deliver flowers to customers, with the dice representing the demand to the customer. Tricky thing, though, is you're not necessarily using all the same results of the dice. There's actually more competition in Bloom because you are drafting the dice instead of leaving them all available to everyone. So what I take is no longer available to you, but we're all using the same dice that are rolled on a turn. Let's look at this in more detail. Here are the components in Bloom. You have a score pad of 75 sheets with 5 different designs. Bloom is a 2 to 5 player game, and you ensure that each player has a different sheet so they are driven in different directions as they're trying to mark things off. You have 6 dice, 5 of them are colored and they match the colors of the flowers, and then you have a clear one which serves as a joker. So each player is going to get their own sheet. The active player, or the first round, is going to roll all of the dice, and then they're going to choose one of the dice, and they are going to mark off that many flowers. So big numbers are good in this game. I might just choose the pink 4 and then mark off these 4 right here. Now the next player is going to choose something else. So they have only these 5 dice available to them. The white can be any color, so I can do 3 orange and mark this off, or I could just stick with the 3 purple, but why leave choices for other people? So I can do 3 orange and mark this off. Next player chooses something, next player chooses something, and then once each player has chosen a die, then you pass all the dice to the next player in clockwise order from whoever rolled them first. They roll again, and now they're choosing something else. So if I was the second player in the first round, I'm now the first player. I have all this available to me. 5 dice of any color. 6 dice that are blue. That looks good. However, if you look at the patterns here, there's nothing that has 6 flowers all of the same color. The white flowers on here can be any flower at all, any color at all. So this could be treated as 5 blue or 3 orange or 4 pink, but there are no 6 blue together. And the color distribution is the same on each sheet, but with a different arrangement. For each color, you have 2 blocks of 4, you have 1 block of 3, and you have 1 block of 2. So we're evenly distributed across all the sheets, just in different arrangements. If I choose the 6 blue. I still have to mark off 6 flowers, but I can't do a blue, so I'm giving a customer a color they don't want. And I have to mark down here that I have an unhappy customer because I gave them something, but not the thing they wanted. I gave it to them anyway, and I took their money and I shoved them out the door. Take your flower. And now I've plucked that flower from my field. As the game progresses, you're going to circle more and more things, and what you're trying to do is twofold. You are trying to circle all the flowers in a flower bed. You have 6 flower beds on your sheet, and the first time you circle everything or mark off everything in a flower bed, you get 3 points. And the next time you do it, you get 4 points. And you keep track of that on your sheet here so everyone can look around and see how many points you're piling up. You are also trying to give away or sell, or however you want to think of it, all the flowers of a color. So I've already got these 4 blue. Maybe later on in the game I get to take this joker, and so I do these 5 blue, and then later on I get to mark all these. And as soon as you mark all the flowers of a color, then you get the highest point total that's still available for that color. So I would get 6 points, and everyone else has to mark off the 6 because it's no longer available to them. They can only get 4 points for delivering all of those blue flowers. Rounds continue in this way, turn after turn, each player choosing 1 die from whatever's rolled, except in a 2-player game where you're choosing 2 dice. So if I roll, I choose, you choose, I choose, you choose. And of course, my choice of first die might be affected by what I leave behind, by what I hope to get on my second pick. Otherwise, you're just kind of at the whim of the dice, because I choose something, and then those dice are gone. There's going to be something else the next time I pick. Whether I'm the active player or someone else is, dice are gone. Each player has 1 reroll available to them when you are going to choose a die. Whether you are the active player who rolled them or not, you can choose to mark off your reroll, reroll everything, and then choose. That costs you 1 point, because if you don't use the reroll, it's worth 1 point at the end of the game, and 1 point can sometimes make all the difference because game scoring is not that high in Bloom. And you have the issue that if you reroll, then you give other people possible good dice as well. If I'm looking at a pool of dice where there's a 3, a 1, a 1, a 1, well, if I can take the 3 for myself, which is not great, but at least I leave everyone else only 1s. If I reroll, maybe I'm going to leave high numbers for everyone, which is not a good choice. The game ends one of 2 ways. One player can circle all the flowers in 3 colors. And when that happens, you finish out the round so everyone chooses the same number of dice, and then you'll tally up your points. The other way the game ends is if someone completes 4 flower beds. And again, you finish out the round so everyone has the same number of turns. The interesting thing is how those game-ending conditions pull you in different ways. Because when you're trying to score flower beds, it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. Me completing 3 flower beds does not affect your score. So the first one you do is still going to be 3 points. Doesn't take anything away from you, doesn't help you, doesn't change anything. But the colors are a different matter, where you are racing to be first in a color because whoever is second scores fewer points. And this puts a little fire under you where you are watching each other player and what they're marking off and what they're focusing on, and you're trying to beat them out first. And that was often going to affect the dice that you were choosing just based on the turn order. So if I see the player after me is going for blue, maybe I'm going to pick something because I'm going to get first choice ahead of them. Or if the player after me, if they gave up on a blue and I'm going second and then I'm going to be first next time, maybe I'll take something and so I can mark it off and hope to get a good blue next time so that I can beat it first. The funny thing is that it's weird that you have the colored dice that are associated with marking off colored flowers, but you can mark off anything. If I get a 5 pink, I can mark off 5 of anything, and I'll have unhappy customers for them, but that may be okay. Maybe I'm trying to complete orange. I only have 3 orange left, and they're next to 2 pink, so I will take the 5 pink, circle those 5. I'll have 3 unhappy customers because I give them orange instead of pink. Whatever, get out the door. Give me your money. But I completed the orange, and so now I get 6 points. It's a net of 3 points, but I've now lowered the ceiling for everyone else, And they might have to work harder now because, of course, any unhappy customers they get is taking away from 4 points instead of 6 points. So you're kind of trying to, you're pushing towards that exit, and you're trying to diminish the interest of everyone else in a particular color. The tricky thing, of course, is once you complete a color, you don't want that die anymore. You don't care. So you're not going to hate draft it from someone else. And so if you're the active player and it comes up 5-6, well, you're just passing that to the next player. You're probably not going to reroll to take it away from them because it costs you a point. You're not going to take it yourself because it'll cost you 5 or 6 points. So the colors become less interesting to you, which is similar to quicks, as the game progresses. And so it's an interesting balancing point, except in a way you were just encouraged to take big dice. Don't worry about the unhappy customers. Hopefully it'll all balance out in the end. Sure, unhappy customer here or there is going to get on Yelp and write about you being a terrible seller and not giving them what they want. Whatever. I don't care. I just want the immediate profit now where I'm looking to win. And that's it. Damn the consequences. I don't care about the long-term results. I just want to win right now. And that pattern of play has carried out in a lot of games. I've had games where I've had up to 11 unhappy customers and I still won because I completed so many colors so quickly that other people didn't have time to do so or to complete flower beds. And the unhappy customers didn't matter because all my positive points just overwhelmed all the unhappiness there. All right? Again, it's a business strategy. Don't worry about the unhappy customers if they're a tiny percentage of your overall profit. You can operate it that way if you want. This doesn't always work out. I've had games where I've had lots of unhappy customers and I just wasn't able to close out a color. Things weren't available. Reroll didn't work out for me. Just someone else beat me to it and it just doesn't work. But often it does. And small difference between Bloom and Bouquet is that in Bouquet there's a penalty. If you have the most unhappy customers, you get a negative 3-point penalty. And if you have the fewest, you add 3 points to your score. Little balancing effort that is not present in the Game Right edition that just changes your behavior a little bit. You're going to track scores a little bit more. And all the scores are open. You see what people have completed as they're marking things off. And of course, that's going to drive your choices. Well, great, I can complete purple, but that's going to be my third color. And that will trigger the end of the game. And I don't have enough points based on what I have right now. So I can't complete purple. But of course, that leaves the opportunity for someone else to complete it first, which is going to further lower my potential points. So you get pulled in these different directions, and sometimes you just find yourself in a bind. You're just like, whatever, I can't do anything good. I just end it. Bloom also has a solitaire version where you play with only the 5 colored dice. You set aside the Joker die. You roll. You're going to pick 2 dice in a round, with each die having a value of at most 4. So if you roll a 5 or 6, you treat it as if it were a 4. You choose 2 dice, you re-roll again, you do it 8 times, and you just try to maximize your points. It's a fun little activity. It's not the same thing because you're not competing with someone else in order to get the best choices or to beat them to a color goal. That's what's fun, is that competition between people. And the people, the first time they play, often don't see that level of competition, or at least they don't think of it that way, where it's okay to take unhappy customers in order to get somewhere first. So I played with people where I just pile up the unhappy customers and I win. Where initially they were choosing, oh, I'm going to choose this 2 pink because I don't want to make anyone unhappy. Oh, I'm going to choose this 3 orange. So they're doing these little small spaces and I'm rushing towards the end. And then we play again. And then they start being a little more eager, a little more ambitious for what they're taking, and they pay more attention to what they're stealing away from you. So I played 9 times on a review copy from Game Right with 2, 3, and 4 players, a solitaire game as well. And it's interesting just to see that competition. With more people, there's more competition, there's worse choices as you get later in the turn order. And so games last a little bit longer because you're not just choosing high values in general and then rushing towards the end. You've got some choices to try to fill in the holes along the way. There you go. A review of Bloom.